she said. Stephanie, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. A little tired. I was out in the field today. We were walking through, 8 inches of snow, but it was good. It was good. So
We're gonna get
thumbs
right
up,
here now. We're gonna get right here now.
right? I'm even wearing a hat because my hair is just a mess. So what? Just kept it on. But hey, we have a great guest tonight, Tommy.
Yes, we do. It's my friend and soon to be yours,
Yeah,
Dwight Campbell from Dirty South Squatchin.
yeah,
Hey, how y'all doing?
good. Welcome into our crazy show, Dwight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything goes here on He Said, She Said.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I ain't got to bite my tongue then.
Good, good. So welcome in. So Tommy tells me, because I've never met you before, you're a Bigfoot researcher, and I know you work with Bob Trent, and we've interviewed him on our show before. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yes. Dirty South Squatching is the name of your team.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Me and Bob had squatched for I guess a good little bit, and we started talking about thinking up a name for our team, for our group, and put some of it on social media and share. So we kind of bandied back and forth some names, and Dirty South Squatching is kind of the one that stuck. I thought it was probably the best one. Kind of fit our spirit and all that. So.
And you guys are in North Carolina. You're where are you at? Like the places that you research most?
Well, I'm located in. We actually live in the same city. We're right outside Charlotte, North Carolina. So, as you know, Uwharrie National Forest is a big hotspot for Bigfoot activity. That's about 90 minutes from us, towards the central part of the state. Then towards the western part, of course, you got the big mountains leading all the way up to the Smoky Mountains, and you got the Blue Ridge foothills. So there's an area that's had a lot of sightings of the Bigfoot known as Nobby. That's also about 90 minutes from where we're at. So most of our research, probably 70% of it, is in Uwharrie and in the Blue Ridge foothills in the Nobby area. But we also go deep to western North Carolina. In fact, just here recently, we went up to the Smoky Mountains and put cameras up in the Smoky Mountains for the first time. We'd never done that. In fact, it's so recent, we haven't even went back and checked them yet. It's been within the last 6-7 months. So we haven't even checked those cameras yet. But the Smoky Mountains is about a 4 to 5 hour drive from us. But our most frequent areas is Uwharrie National Forest and the Blue Ridge foothills areas.
wow. So you just leave. Do you think your cameras will still be there when you get back?
Oh, I don't have any doubt. Now, I've lost a few cameras over time, but I don't think that in the area we put it in, there's no hunting in that area.
Oh, okay, good.
Most people stick to trails. So I've got a ton of confidence that those cameras will still be there when we check them. I really need to go back and check them in the next month or so because the batteries are probably about to run out.
Yeah, a long time.
Now, let me tell you, Steph, when these guys go to Squatchin, they're definitely well armed. I mean, they have cameras out the gazoo.
Sounds like it.
Tommy, we just got something different now. We had the flares that we hooked up to the batteries, and Bob's gotten his flare to run, I think, as long as like 15 hours. My flare model's a little different. When I hook it up to the battery pack, I usually get about right around 9 to 10 hours, so that will record all night. So when we go on overnighters, we can actually record, pick a spot and record all night. But just recently, we've gotten a different thermal monocular that will actually broadcast to your phone. So we can actually set it out in an area, and we could be like 30 feet away in the tent, in the van, whatever, and we can be recording and viewing it on our phone. And to trump that, I went out and got an electric tripod, with a big extension cord, and Bob went out and got one that's radio controlled with no extension cord, so we can sit back in the van or in the tent. We can actually rotate and be looking at thermal all night long.
So, okay. So my question is, how do you fund all this equipment? Listen, I'm a paranormal investigator, so I know how much all this equipment costs. And wowza.
Well, number one, I mean, you want to look for the best prices.
Right.
There's a new thermal company called AGM. I don't want to plug anybody, but you can get the one I got was only $1,300, which that's expensive, but as you know, as far as FLIRs and thermals and things of that nature, that's relatively cheap and is well made. So you want to look for the best prices. But me, I'm just a regular working guy. You know, I work not 9 to 5, but I work the graveyard shift. And you know, you get all these things over the course of time. You save for them and buy them. So that's what I usually do. I don't get anything on credit. If I want to get a $1,000 camera, then I might spend 4, 5, 6 months saving for it and then go pay for it. So I fund it with my own money. Nobody's funding us. We're really not, I don't know how you say, we don't really go for a lot of audience and so on and so forth. We're just basically researching and funding everything ourselves.
Right. That's good.
These guys are definitely serious. I'm telling you what.
Yes.
Yeah. If I'm in Walmart and Walmart's got their trail cameras on clearance for $30 a piece, I'm buying 3 or 4 of them. So I do some frugal shopping when it comes to equipment.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have a $1,500 Reconyx camera. I don't go that route, but I get the best bang for the buck. That's what we really look for.
Now, how about Bob's van? Like, are you guys using that van still?
Yeah, we use that van all the time. We just recently was down in Uwharrie just a few weeks ago in the van. Matter of fact, New Year's, we celebrated and brought in New Year's. We were in the van in Uwharrie squatching on New Year's, and the fireworks, we could hear them in the distance going off, you know. So we spent just a few weeks ago, we were in the van. And actually that night was actually warm. We had our t-shirts on. For some reason, it was warm down here. Wow. And we were squatching with our t-shirts on at 2 o'clock in the morning, ringing in the New Year. So, but yeah, that old van is fantastic. I'm thinking about the next time I get another vehicle, I'll probably get an old van. That's probably.
Well, Bobby told us some stories about the van when he was on. So
yeah, he's better at telling stories than me. I'm not a big story guy, but we've had all kinds of things happen in the van, out of the van. But that van is a great tool. It's not 4-wheel drive, but the thing about it is it's so heavy. It'll get up and down them gravel roads. It'll go deep in the forest. It'll get us everywhere we need to go.
Wow, I can't imagine squatching on December 31st in t-shirts. I'm in Minnesota, so you know it's been cold up here for quite a while now.
I've actually been to Minnesota. I've been to the St. Paul, Minneapolis area and the Mall of America up there. So I've been up to Minnesota before, and I know it gets cold up there.
We're almost Canada. And we get so mad at people who say that, but it is true. I mean, Canada's pretty close.
Oh, it's close. You're right at it. That's cold too.
It is cold. Yeah, it's cold. But you know, Northern girls, we can handle it.
So, what's some of the other things besides Bigfoot that you've been researching? Like, is there anything else like Dogman or?
To me, I mean, it's all in one when you go out there. I mean, you can say that I can say that I'm a Bigfoot researcher, but when I go out there, you're looking for anything that pops up in the woods, anything strange. You know, you're looking for that and you're trying to document it. So, you know, right across the board, I've caught evidence of Dogman. We've also seen strange lights out there and documented some of that. Just here recently, we went to Wiseman's Overlook, where the brown mountain lights are pretty famous worldwide. And we actually caught some of the brown mountain lights on film. And so I'm trying to figure out a better way to film in the dark and catch those lights. I caught them with my phone, and I kind of made the settings to where you could film something at night, kind of played around with it. And we were lucky enough to catch some of the lights. So in the future, that's something we really want to get out there and do more of. But anything, Tommy, across the board, we're trying to catch evidence of anything, not just Bigfoot.
Right.
Yeah, I just recently have found those signs, the lights that you saw down there. Where was that?
Yes, the Brown
place.
Mountain Lights. Yeah, and it's they've been talking about the Brown Mountain Lights forever. The Indians saw those lights. The settlers saw those lights. They've been seen for hundreds of years. There's actually a professor from Appalachian State University that put a camera at a lookout point, and he caught the lights on film too. So it's something that not only have people been talked about, and there's legends of it, but there's also been documented evidence of the lights. And to this point in time, nobody can adequately explain what it is. You can see it in the mountain, go above the mountain, around the mountain, and dissipate. You got all kinds of, these days, you got all kinds of wild theories on what that actually could be. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That'd be a good place for you to go to, Stephanie.
Right? It's probably got a paranormal explanation, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if you look it up,
Does.
there's a ton of information about it. It's pretty well known. There's been books written about it and all that. I'd like to get actually on Brown Mountain and kind of stomp around on the mountain and do an overnighter from that perspective. Maybe you can see a light coming up out of the ground or whatever. Get something even better. Yeah.
Well, you know, you've seen, I'm sure, because you're a Bigfoot researcher, but you've seen the lights that we see with Bigfoot occasionally, you know, so.
We've had one incident in particular where we were out squatching in Uwharrie one night, and I didn't witness it. I had to leave that night because I had to work the next day. So at 3 a.m., I got up and went back towards the campground. We were probably I'd say about 300 to 400 yards in the woods away from the campground. And not long after I left, Bob and a buddy he was with saw some different colored lights up in the sky, and it came all the way down into the forest. And they decided they were just going to pack up and leave right there. If I would have stayed a little longer, I would have seen it. But prior to that, though, we caught some peekers peeking out from the tree on the thermals. And so I guess that's the one instance that I've been involved with where we saw Bigfoot activity and then there were strange lights. So I don't know, really, I don't know what the connection is, but that's our one instance where that happens.
I don't think anybody really knows what the connection is. You know, there's lots of theories. There's theories, you know, that Bigfoot, because I believe Bigfoot is multidimensional, you know, and there's theories that say that he somehow transforms, right, and goes into a different layer, and the lights happen. And then there's other theories that say if you see the lights, Bigfoot is there, or Bigfoot's coming, or whatever. It's like in the paranormal field, we see the orbs. If it's a true, we don't believe they're spirits. We believe that it's indicative of paranormal activity. So this is kind of the same thing. It's all kind of rolled in.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You have people that are on the quote unquote flesh and blood side that don't believe in that. Then you got people, they call it the woo, but really a lot of that woo talk is kind of going out the door because there's so many people now that really think in terms of the paranormal aspect that could be another dimension. And, you know, they have a physics aspect to it as well, a scientific aspect to it. So who knows, you know, time portals, different dimensions. I mean, that's all above my head, so I can't say too much about it. But if that's going on and I got my camera, I want to film it. No doubt about that.
Right. Absolutely.
Right on.
Well, so when you're out in the woods, do you ever feel anything weird? Like you're talking about, you don't have paranormal experiences or whatever, but you know, there's a lot of weird energy out in the woods, and
I gotta say right there, Dwight does not feel fear.
No, apparently not.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
I saw, I was reading the other day where someone was making some comments on an old Bigfoot documentary, and the guys out there, they were squatching around Ape Canyon, and they didn't have a rifle, a gun, or anything. And people were commenting that, oh, they know Bigfoot doesn't exist because if they felt like he exists, they'd take a gun out there. No one would be that dumb to go out there without a gun. But, you know, I've traipsed all through the woods, not knowing where my destination really would be, and I didn't have a gun with me. You know, I have my dog with me, but not a gun. But, you know, in terms of fear, you know, I'm not afraid, but at the same time, I try to be very careful. I try to make noise as I move. I really don't want to sneak up on anything. But yeah, I felt some weird energy at certain places in the woods. There's no doubt about that. One place in particular, a place called the South Mountains, when I went a couple of miles back in there and I followed a creek, and the creek went between two mountain ridges, and we've actually hiked, me and Bob, both of those mountain ridges, and I went in between it. At one point, there looked like there was an old, I don't know, wagon road. It kind of looked like that. You know, from if you see pictures of the old days of old wagon roads in the woods, it looked like the remnants of that. It didn't really look like anything that a bulldozer had blazed. And as I walked up that road, I really felt a strangeness, a strange energy. In fact, you know, maybe I did have a little bit of fear because I didn't follow it that far. Once I got that feeling, I just backed off a little bit. And to this day, that's one of the places I intend on going back to and following that wagon road all the way out. But that particular day, I felt an energy, but also a kind of a weirdness, and I backed off of that a little bit. So at that particular time, but that's probably my one experience feeling something that was really weird. Of course, we've had incidents too where our cameras totally went dead, and we put new batteries in them, and they went dead again. I didn't feel anything physically, but that was a weird instance that happened, and that got, you know, me and Bob kind of looking at each other and saying, you know, what's going on here? You know, this is weird, you know.
Yeah, totally happens a lot, actually. Yeah. Well, okay. So, what do you think about suburban cryptids and suburban squatch? So, you live in a bigger town. What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
for a long time, I really wasn't into all that, and that's something that Bob really he's into. And just from talking with him, and you know, when you're out squatching, you spend a lot of time throwing ideas off of each other. So over the course of time, you know, I look for areas that have connectivity to the bigger mountains, like especially when you're squatching in the Blue Ridge foothills. You want to see what areas go directly to Pisgah National Forest, that might go up into George Washington National Forest in Virginia. And so I started looking around different areas, suburban areas, cities below the Blue Ridge foothills. And to be honest with you, you see a lot of different areas that have a connectivity of woodlands that go all the way up to the Blue Ridge foothills, which then go all the way up to the bigger mountains. And I don't see any reason why you couldn't have, you know, activity, you know, in suburbia with Bigfoot and all that. So, you know, I think if once they get in them areas, they'll probably go through big culverts and, you know, places where they can hide. Of course, they may know, I mean, in a place like Mount Holly, there's occasionally been a sighting in our area, and who knows, there may be some hidden caves somewhere that they know that we don't. We got the Catawba River that runs through Mount Holly. So I think any areas in suburbia where there's rivers, there's creeks, there's connectivity to national forests, maybe 50, 60 miles away, but there's nice woodlands, nice greenways, if you will, between that. Yeah, you can definitely have activity.
Yeah, the greenways they're a nice way for things to get around in secret.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. You know, under bridges, you know, creeks going under bridges. I mean, all that provides pretty good cover areas. Even the creeks in suburban areas there's woodlands all around the creek.
Yeah.
And there's always a buffer around the creek, and that provides, you know, a walkway to power lines as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
power line walkways. That's the other thing. I think when we're in the woods, when we're like in remote areas, we always kind of want to walk those power line clearings
Yeah,
because
they're
I think
seeing
there's
a
a lot
lot
to be
of
found there.
yeah. They found a lot of tracks in the Blue Ridge foothills and power lines. Also on railroad tracks,
Yep.
there's a lot of tracks. There's one area that's close to us that actually, when Finding Bigfoot came to North Carolina, they actually came into that area, and there's old abandoned railways and old abandoned railroad tunnels in that area that they only use it once in a blue moon. And they found tracks around there as well. I've actually seen tracks in those areas as well. So railways are a good place too that they may walk and travel for certain distances. So
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, like, and going back to the having a gun or loaded gun or whatever, you don't need anything because you've got Tim Dills with you.
you're right. Now, Tim Dills, he's always got a sidearm on him and a knife at all times. Tim Dills is about as big as a Squatch himself. I know for him to get his hands on you, you'd probably never get away from him. So yeah, I have no fear at all when I'm with Tim. If I would have been walking on that wagon road with Tim, we would have just walked that whole thing out. There wouldn't have been no fear whatsoever with Tim Dills. You know, Tim is a guy, he's a lifelong hunter, and he's had experiences throughout different parts of his life with Bigfoot. He's been on Finding Bigfoot talking about some of those experiences, and his area is a real eye opener. I go up there occasionally. I got cameras up in his areas. Of course, he calls them mine in his areas now, but they're really his areas, you know. But he's a great guy, great hunter, and anytime he sees some tracks, he sees something interesting, I'll pay a lot of attention because he knows what he's talking about.
Yes, sir.
Well, awesome. Maybe we need to get him on the show too, Tommy.
Oh, he would be a great guy to get on the show. He's part of Dirty South Squatching. You know, at Dirty South Squatching, we all do our own things, but you know, me and Bob are primarily Dirty South, but Tim's in Dirty South. Doug Tig, he's also in Dirty South. He got that film that was actually on the Proof Is Out There. One of the better Bigfoot films to come around in a while. He's got a lot of good plaster cast evidence as well. So Doug Tig is a part of it. So we each do our own thing, but we're also part of Dirty South, and we bounce. You know, anything that happens in our Bigfoot worlds, we always bounce them off each other. If I get an unusual track, I'm gonna show it to Doug Tig and Tim Dills and see what they think about it. So it's great to have them in our group. I mean, they're fantastic. So.
Absolutely.
You guys are like the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The
Uh,
Legion of Bigfoot Boom.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So we always ask this of Bigfoot researchers too. What do you think about stick structures and tree bows, arches, and all that kind of stuff? What do you think they are?
You know, every time I go out into the woods, I'll see something, you know, that's interesting that may be Bigfoot related or not. I think over time and over experience, the the biggest thing I notice is when you've got stick structures, tree sign, you've got it all woven into each other, and it kind of goes down a little ways. It's almost like it's a blind. It's almost like it's a corridor.
Yep.
If they were out chasing, let's say, deer, when deer hit that spot, they're going to be funneled in a certain direction. So the most interesting thing I've seen is how it's all weaving together, and it's like 20, 30 yards going down the side of a mountain or in a meadow, back behind a meadow in the woods. It's all weaving together. You know that the trees didn't fall like that,
No.
that it didn't just all land like that, and that funnels them in a certain direction. Now, when it comes to standalone X signs, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to tell you, I have found some huge X's out in the forest. One in particular in Uwharrie that no matter where you're at around that, if you go 50 yards back, 60 yards back, all around that X, you're going to see it. I mean, it's a sign that just lights up the forest. It's almost like a tree blaze, and a marker. And right behind that X, leading up to that X, either there was a fire or a prescribed burn. Right behind that X is nothing but fertile woodland. It's green all the time. Even in the winter, it's green back behind that X, and it goes on right through the Uwharrie National Forest. So I think that's some kind of tree blaze, some kind of marker that marks the spot where, there's some fertile grounds behind it. Tree signs could also mark sacred ground,
Right.
as well. So I think there's definitely something to it, but at the same time, one of our buddies says if you didn't see Bigfoot make it, you can't say Bigfoot
No.
made it. So as a documentary and researcher, that's something that we're trying to find. Interestingly enough, though, Stephanie, when I found that really big X, I know there's no way it fell like that. I know it was made. Also, my dog actually led me to it. She sniffed the trail all the way through the forest. Well, actually, no trail, all the way through the woods. She had her nose to the ground and led me right to that X. And when she got to the X, she sniffed all around that X.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no doubt in my mind that Bigfoot
Right.
made it. There ain't no or to it. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. But as a researcher, that's something you want to get documentation of. I'm very much into getting evidence and getting documentation, and not just letting my theories just go wild.
Yep.
And I'd like to do a little shameless plug here of Cryptovania, because Stephanie and Dwight are both members of our peer-generated archives, and definitely you've got a lot of stuff on there, and signs is great, and the X that you were talking about, it's great. That's good stuff, I tell you. Anybody can see it 24/7.
That's
Yeah.
great. I love Cryptovania. I look it up all the time and watch what other people do, like Greg Yost and people like that. It's always good to see what other people think, what they're into, what they're finding, what their perspective is. And that always helps you in your own personal journey in investigating these things. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, I always say, I'm always very careful to say it is thought that Bigfoot made this. You know what I mean? We don't know. We've never seen him do it, but why would people do this? This is my question. Why would people do this out in the middle of the woods? And it's hard. So what our group decided to do one time was to make our own stick structure among a bunch of other stick structures that were out there. It was hard. Okay, we're a bunch of girls. I get it. But holy mama, that was crazy. I'm like, who would do this? What's interesting about that, though, is the structures that were around ours have been kind of unassembled over time. So isn't this interesting?
That's interesting.
But something has been adding to ours.
That is interesting.
I didn't know.
Maybe that's something I ought to try to do, is make a
Yeah.
structure out in the woods and put a trail camera on it and see if it attracts any attention. That would be an interesting experiment. I've never really thought of doing that, though.
Well, but do it around some that are already there, One of our researchers, it was her idea to do this, and we didn't know if we'd come back and it would be all tore apart, or if we'd come back and, it's one of our research areas, so we're there a few times a year, but we always keep an eye on this area. And this one particular area, we called it the quadrant because there were so many stick structures and arches, so we put ours there. And so over the last couple of years, all these structures have been kind of disassembled or just let go and not being, updated. But ours seems like there's new ones added all the time. Okay, now isn't that strange?
That's strange.
Really strange.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then across the wetland, because we're in Minnesota, and like Tommy Ellis says, yeah, Minnesota is nothing but a bunch of lakes and wetlands and creeks and whatever. Yes. So, and across the wetland, there's a whole bunch of new arches there. So I don't know if that's their new quadrant, but they're still keeping ours up. So I think it's just bizarre,
That is interesting.
And as far as these,
I've had a lot of people show me certain areas where there's a ton of arches. It's always interesting to walk into the woods and just see arches everywhere. Over like a 100 square foot area, you just see all this. It looks like a jungle gym of
Yes.
arches and structures. That's always interesting, especially when someone says, "Hey, man, you're a Bigfoot researcher. Let me show you something." And then they show it.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a researcher, I can't give them all the answers to it. I don't have all the answers to it.
No, we don't. We have no answers to anything because every time we go out, there's just more questions. There's more questions than answers, you know. And like we were in a new area today, and we found just a whole bunch of these arches and structures and stars. And the biggest arch, Tommy, I sent you a picture, definitely was held down and in between others that they put it in there, and it was huge. I mean, it was tall. It's 20 feet high. Okay. Humans couldn't get that down like that, you know?
Yep.
So I don't know.
No, it takes a whole lot to bend the small tree down. I've also seen that where they're bent down and tucked in like that. And that's
And like put in between things, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's
I
bizarre.
think a lot of times when I see arches, and the arches, a lot of times they're around 8 feet, 10 feet, most commonly down here. I think that really breaks up their profile. I think they can bend the tree down, make an arch, and then hide under it, and it really breaks their profile up, and it almost provides a blind for them to hide and either look and observe or hide and hunt.
Exactly.
The same thing, I think. Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's hunting too and getting their game a little easier.
Yep, I agree. Cool beans. We'll never know unless we can sit down and chat with one, though, right? So, you know, this is always my goal, to look one in the eyes and figure it out. And I think you would just be exposed to an amazing amount of information, you know? We'll see. Maybe someday.
Yeah. What do you have on the schedule for this year, Dwight? You guys plan on traveling, or you gonna stay around home, or what are you guys gonna do, you think?
Yeah, me and Bob were talking about this the other week. He definitely wants to make a trip up your way this year, so that's something that we definitely got on the table. Continuing to do more research up in the Smoky Mountains is something I really would like to do. Again, it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive, but we got those cams up there, so if I can kind of build on that momentum, we go check them and maybe drop a cam or two in a different spot, a different area. That's something I'd like to build on and get some research done in the Great Smoky Mountains area, but continue to do what we've done in Uwharrie, what we've done in the foothills, hooking up with Tim in Tim's area. The whole thing about Bigfooting is due diligence. You know, if you don't get out there, you don't follow some kind of program and try to get evidence, you're not going to catch anything. Now, I'd rather walk out there with just my cell phone and hike out in the woods and be out there than just be at the house and, you know, watching a ball game. You know, you have to do your due diligence. So the biggest thing for 2022 is just continue to do what we've done. And it just takes that one time, just like Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin driving right around that creek, and they came face to face with one. It just takes that one time. You know, I think that at that point in time, Patterson had been researching Bigfoot on and off for about 7 years. Now, I've really been out. I've been interested my whole life, but I've really been actively with the camera and with the plan trying to document out there since 2015. So I'm coming up on 7 years my own self. So just to continue with due diligence, continue with the program. I'm still as excited about Bigfoot and Squatchin now as I ever was. Sometimes work gets in the way with COVID. My workplace has been crazy and I've been working more hours. So yeah, some weekends I'm a little tired and I need to rest. But continuing with due diligence is what's going to make this happen for me, but also for all Bigfoot researchers. We need to be getting out there and squatching, or whatever you want to call it, investigating. We need to get out there and do that. And one of us is going to get something incredible.
Right. See, this is what I think too. The important thing is to get out there, and it doesn't matter. And there's no bad days in the woods. Come on, you guys. There's no bad days in the woods. It's
There's
fabulous time no matter what, you know.
Who's calling?
I don't know. It's not. I keep looking at my phone, but it's not mine.
Somebody's calling me.
Must be Dwight.
There we go.
Somebody's trying to get a hold of him. Which we should probably. Do you have anything else, Tommy? Or maybe we should let him go because maybe something bad is happening.
No, ain't nothing bad. I'm good. Ain't nothing bad happening.
Well, Dwight, we're gonna get you to it. You seem to be busy with stuff like that. It sure was great talking to you. I hope to see you again soon.
Anytime y'all want me on, just let me know. I'll be glad to come on anytime. So just let me know, and I will never say no. I'll always be available. So
That would be fun. Yeah, for sure. Maybe we can get you in the field. You
yeah,
somewhere where you get a signal.
you know.
The next time I see you, we're going to be in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we all need to converge on Cryptovania at the same time. Tommy was just saying a couple weeks ago, Steffi, we need to get you here. And I'm like, okay, well, let's plan it. Let's plan it. But we got to do it now. It's early in the year. We can get it on the calendar.
Exactly.
So we should do that.
That would be nice to get everybody up at Cryptovania at the same time. Can you imagine Yost out there, Bob Trent out there? She's there. I mean, that would be pretty incredible.
Absolutely. Well,
until
the next time.
All right, until the next time. I've enjoyed it. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Been fun.
See you later.
Gonna burn this whole